In 1907, this station opened as Tottenham Court Road.
And in 1908, it got the name that it kept. Welcome to Goodge Street.
In this week's episode.
See, normally we look at doors like this and we get a bit excited, don't we?
That's the equivalent of 166 stairs.
It's another bit of that detail that's just hiding in plain sight.
So the originals are there. I doubted myself for a second. Let's have a look.
Right here. Watch this.
Did not expect to be getting a lesson on apiary.
No.
Let's go back down and see if we can find those tiles.
Let's not do it with a gimmick. Welcome to this week's Hidden London Hangout. Today we're at a station that has had the same name for as long as I was born, but when it was born, it was a completely different name, wasn't it, Mr.
That's
Nix?
right. So it was the location that it sits, which is Tottenham Court Road.
But weirdly, if it was still called Tottenham Court Road, it would be confusing because there's another Tottenham Court Road.
It would. And this comes down to the fact that in the early days when the tubes were being built, they were rival companies, they weren't grouped, and so the individual lines would name stations to suggest they were in the most attractive area for passengers to be able to get to key locations. And it's only then as the underground lines started being grouped together that confusion could be addressed and the station name started to change.
Because this isn't in any way unique. If you think about Tottenham Court Road down there, that was originally called Oxford Street.
That's right.
This was Tottenham Court Road that's now Goodge Street. Warren Street was once called Euston Road. You go further up, you've got South Kentish Town that was Castle Road. You've got Heath Street that is now Hampstead. So many of those stations changed their names almost within a year of being opened, didn't they?
That's right, and that it was simply about that grouping of the lines, allowing the common sense to prevail and to give stations the best name for the sake of passengers getting to where they wanted to go. And of course the station changed. Today it's got that modern blue Goodge Street station panel. Originally it was tiled underneath there with its original name and then its replacement name. And the station itself has gone through quite a few physical changes. So today we see it with this block of flats built on top of it. Originally it was just built with a flat roof ready to have a building put on top. We have a lovely drawing of the almost exactly what you've got up there now. We have in our collection.
But with a different roof.
Like. Ever so slightly different detail at the top of the roof. It didn't have that sort of gable end finish at the top of the roof, but actually otherwise remarkably similar to what you see today.
And a very pretty looking building as well, incredibly tall. And funnily enough, this station, as we say, has a few changes in its life, but still got 4 lifts, still got a spiral staircase with the original tiles, and as we know from this beautiful cut out and keep, ta-da, we know that it would have been originally green.
Indeed.
When it was Tottenham Court Road. So we're looking out for green tiles, aren't we now?
Indeed.
When we go round.
This is something that we've mentioned before from a rather excellent book called Tiles of the Unexpected. Quite hard to find now, but if you can find a copy, great
in my rucksack,
spotter's guide to tiles.
Whenever I do this. But it's stunning, isn't it? I mean, all the way around that window, lovely little details. And again, all over the rest of the building, it's really cute, actually.
It is, and we see, as we've seen at other stations before, these ornate lighting arrangements on the front. Slightly different to how they originally were, but still have a nice sort of period feel to them. So it wasn't always good times for this station though. It did in 1918 suffer periods of closure. There was the coal shortages, which meant that a number of stations had to be closed to literally save electricity and therefore the coal that was needed to supply them. So we have quite a mundane looking poster which shows this station along with others being closed on a Sunday to reduce the draw on the electricity supply. Has a much nicer poster associated with it because of course Tottenham Court Road is known as a shopping district. So there's a gorgeous poster from 1935 that shows a very stylised look at key stations for going shopping along with this.
You've got Heels just across the road.
Well,
fancy.
Absolutely.
Fancy.
Absolutely. The only shop that it's missing that should have been on the list, but in fairness wasn't around then, is the rather excellent one at London Transport Museum, Covent Garden. Now, of course, one of the key things which hasn't changed at this station is the lifts, or have they?
Well, we need to go to the roof because the lovely Andy and Sandy who work here, and all the other crew. Always nice when you get to a station and say, we've been expecting you, and thanks for watching. They say go to the roof because the lift room's cool, and there's also something for the horticultural lover as well.
Well, that's me sold.
Lovely.
Lift number 4 will be the next lift.
So at Mornington Crescent, we got to go and have a look at a 1990s lift winding replacement. Let's go and have a look at a bit more of a modern one. Looks quite a lot newer, doesn't it? This system is only about 5 years old and is an example of a modern London Underground lift winding equipment. I think this one's just starting. Woo! So this is lift number 3. That's this winding drum. You can see it's quite a fast-moving lift. That's the equivalent of 166 stairs that it's doing there. And in the time that I've taken to explain that, it's just arriving at the other level.
And isn't it interesting as well to think that only a mile up the road at Mornington Crescent, there were 60 stairs down, and this is 160.
Yeah.
So it just goes to show how much deeper the Northern Line runs under the central section of London than perhaps just as far as Camden.
That's right, yeah. And here, of course, you're having to get underneath a lot more things in the ground. And the geography of London means that, you know, the depth of the ground and where the clay sits in the ground is different as you go across the city.
But you can see it's much more modern. I mean, when you look at the whole sort of lift room, there you go, next, so you have that. Here's the pros back again. But you look at it, these are much more contained, these units, aren't they?
They are.
And there's less, I don't know, it just feels like there's less to see. They're so well encased.
And it's quite refined, isn't it? It's nice to see an example of that technology moving on from that very early primitive looking one that we saw at the original at Mornington Crescent that's now at our depot, to the ones that are Mornington Crescent, and then an ultra modern system like this. And actually Goodge Street was known for having quite modern lifts because in 1937 they replaced the existing Otis staff controlled ones with automatic lifts.
Really?
And they were really quite new. They were also, at that time, they were the fastest lifts on the underground. So it's good to see that it's still up to date with that.
And you might imagine
today.
quite a lot of the punters at the time would be a bit freaked out by not having a lift controller person in the lift with them.
Well, it makes a bit, yeah, that's right. And we've got a photo which shows that they had a notice on them explaining that they were automatic lifts, because as you say, it would have been quite novel. And it did make a big difference because although the lift cabins were much smaller than the original Otis ones, they could have fewer lifts because they were much faster than the old Otis ones.
Fascinating.
So it's important stuff.
Also, the other thing I spot is the massive building on top of us held up by beams.
Absolutely, yeah.
What?
And these give us the lovely flat roofs that are on these buildings. And as you mentioned before, there's a little secret on one of the flat roofs here that we should go and have a look at next.
Should.
It's a prize-winning secret, in fact.
Absolutely.
Isn't it?
Award-winning. You're right, love, I'm just doing my strawberries. This is the Goodge Street garden, which is looked after by 2 members of staff here, Paul and James. Isn't this, you're a bit of a gardener, you've got your allotment. What do you make of this? It's cool, isn't it?
Well, I think it's extraordinary. It's great use of a bit of spare space. And this has actually won first prize in the gardens competition on the underground before now.
Golden watering can.
They got an award-winning watering can with a plaque and everything. Yeah, and quite right too. I mean, this looks like some member of the Prunus family. I'm going to turn into Titchmarsh now.
Aces.
Definitely, we've got aces down there. This looks like it might be a pear.
I thought that was a pear tree, but look at these though, Nixie, because we were talking about this before. These are cordyline, but they're in flower.
And the smell is just tremendous, isn't it? The flowers on these are just incredible. You can see the bees, look at them, they're going to town. You did not expect to be getting a lesson on apiary.
No, but isn't it fun? And then right up there, look, there's the view of my favourite London landmark, the BT Tower, Post Office Tower as it used to be called. I mean, you could imagine, this is what London living's all about, isn't it? This is glorious, and it just is another reminder of the bits of London's underground that we never normally get to see, that actually win awards. You know, it's really lovely up here, right in the centre. I mean, on a sunny day like this as well, it's roasting hot. I don't need a jumper.
Absolutely, and I can only imagine how good those strawberries are going to be with all this heat up here to ripen them. They should be growing chilies as well. Chilies and peppers do amazingly.
They're not sprouts, are they?
It's Brassica family. Could be, broccoli maybe.
Maybe broccoli. I've seen you growing it, but it's just like amazing. But I love it up here. So another little tick off the list of Goodge Street secrets.
Well, I think it's time to get into the station proper, and all of this greenery is quite fitting, I think, for the original colour scheme of the station. So let's go and see what we can find of the original.
So this says it all really, doesn't it? Painted, emulsion painted wall and a little bit of green, and then you turn yourself a couple of inches and suddenly you have the original tiles from 1907, the green as they said it was going to be.
And aren't they gorgeous? I mean, it's everything we've come to get excited about on this. You've got everything from this kind of, what would you say, minty, peppermint?
Well, I think it's kind of spearmint, but it's like an apple green, isn't it? Like, it's really nice.
What I love though, and I think apple is a really good way to put it, because you've got everything from the green through to this gold.
Yeah.
And it is just like a ripening apple skin, isn't it?
I don't know about you, but I'm not the biggest fan of green. But it's cute, and I think because it's old, you just feel that London Underground is doing its bit to preserve memories, because this is what it would have been looking like when it was first opened up. It's incredible, really.
Absolutely, and I know in recent episodes when we've talked about the vertical tile banding on stairs, some people have, maybe they don't take the stairs normally and been a bit surprised to see that rather than the horizontal tiles, but that's quite standard for a Leslie Green tiled.
But isn't it interesting?
Look, look down there.
Spotted that a minute ago. Completely different colour.
That's incredible, isn't it?
See, this colour is different, and as you would say, Laura would love this blue, but it wasn't on the original plan, was it? It was just this green.
Yeah, if I recall correctly from your diagram, it is that colour.
Yeah.
So it's lovely to see, isn't it? It's yet more variation.
Totally, but it's not just like a fill-in. This is all the way down the stairs, there's this banding. So it's not by accident.
No, quite deliberate. And also, the way that this stuff is put on the wall, of course, remembering what we're in a shaft which is made out of cast iron, and this is all built on metal straps which have got the formwork and then the plaster and the tiles applied on top.
As would have been the case at Mornington Crescent before it was all stripped away when we looked.
That's exactly right. We saw it kind of in the nude there, didn't we?
In the nude. Tunnels in the nude.
The other thing which I really rather like here is we've got a proper original piece of ductwork. So up the centre of the stairs here, you have a central duct carrying the air to a fan to extract air out of the station. And then at the top of the stairs, you remember all the way back to Marleybone episode, we talked about it I think for the first time, you have this sideways tube which takes it out to the fan chamber and out of the station.
And we found it in a lot of stations. It's always in the spiral staircase, isn't it?
That's
Central section, right up the centre. Although there's not many stations that you can actually see what it's linked to.
Well, let's
Do we
have a
have
look
that
and see
here?
let's have a look.
Let's have a wander.
I've got the keys, so we'll see if we can.
And the lovely thing about this is, it's another bit of that detail that's just hiding in plain sight. The public can use this staircase anytime they want, and they get to see all these beautiful tiles. Two things, right, to notice. Number one, we haven't got that twisted metal guard lattice work around this pipe, and also the original rivets. Remember how the rivets look now versus how they look then? Can you hear people running?
A lot of steps,
this is amazing. This is almost like athletics. I feel like I should go faster. If I was them. Is this where you do the speedy up bit?
That's right.
A stupid idiot. I love the fact we're actually being followed by somebody who's running to get the train. I promise I won't keep you up. I won't keep you up.
always take care on the stairs. It's where most accidents happen, on the escalators and
Don't
stairs.
say that, don't say that, don't say that. Right.
Well, that hasn't happened before, has it?
Have a nice journey. This is the bottom of that big chimney.
Yeah. So this is the base of the big duct we were talking about, and this looks like a rare thing to find these days, which is a door into the bottom of the duct.
Do I get the key?
Rude not to, isn't it?
Right, let's do this.
You take that one.
Yeah.
Actually, I'm just going to take this out, because if this is what we think it is, it's going to need some lighting. Yep, there we go. That's going to be filthy dirty on the inside, but that is the inside of a ventilation duct.
Nice.
Well, yes, I mean, say nice. It's very,
we have a
very
look
necessary.
down there?
It's doing a good job. Well, let's do that. Let's.
Oh my goodness.
Let's get the camera in there. Can you see that? Well done.
Oh.
Yeah, it's quite a deep way down towards the sun.
Can we go up?
Yeah, let's go up. Here we go. And all the way up. There you go.
Oh. Did you hear that?
Yeah.
If I put myself in. Oh my God.
So at the top of that, there will be a fan.
Right.
That is drawing air out. It's not. Doesn't feel like it's running today. Otherwise, I doubt we'd be able to open the door.
There's a draft, but it's not a big draft.
That's just a passive draft up through there.
Because all chimneys work in the same way. Air moving at the top, it's going to draw air up.
Stack effect. That's right. Hot air rises, and
Yeah.
it helps to draw it out of the system.
Yeah.
Excellent.
Right.
Now, while we're here, let's just have a look at what else we've got, because these tiles are certainly not old, are they?
No. This tile work started in 1986, and I have to say, would you not agree, this is typical 1980s tiling. Big, clumpy, blunt colours. I just don't.
And very
I'm
thick
not a fan.
grouting, isn't
Yeah,
it?
look at that.
And
Although, I wonder
are
if
you
they
thinking what
tiled
I'm
on the
thinking?
Because
Yeah.
there's a tile, and behind it there's something else.
Well, any tiler will tell you that tiles make a very good surface tile on top of. So the reason for that thickness, I don't know if it's
Always
the
thick.
viewers at home will be able to see, but I suspect it's just got the old ones underneath
It
it.
would explain a lot, actually.
It's what normally happens. Same at Piccadilly Circus.
But again, look at the detail above the exit ways.
Oh,
All
you
that
can even see where there were some cables
Yeah.
went through
drilled
that, those
around.
notches in the
But it's,
keystone.
there's still bits here. That's what I love
Yeah.
about this station. You know, even though literally to look at old and new in the same shaft is really kind of new and novel and fun.
I don't know about you, I haven't used Goodge Street a lot. It's only if I've come to Tottenham Court Road or the Hills or somewhere like that that I've used it. But one of the things that sticks in my mind is the number of lifts that are here, and if it's still got them, the rather cool lift indicators.
Yeah.
So should we have a look on our way to the platform?
We've lost 20. Don't know where they've gone.
That's the
Someone
top
nicked them.
landing, isn't
Someone
it?
nicked them. 4 lifts. Look at that. And that's the bit
There
you
we
love,
go.
isn't it?
That's what I remember. Rather cool.
It's fab, isn't it?
Obviously not the same as the original Otis ones with those blocks that would slide up and down on the slider rails, but no, I rather like it. And it's handy, isn't it? You see straight away which one's coming first if you're coming up from the platform.
Station. But fun enough, I like being a critical friend of the tube, and I have to say the design of this is a bit blunt for me. I do love the old tiles, and if they still had them here, I'd be a happy boy.
But you've still got your Leslie Green features sticking out. Look, there's the bridge over one of the tracks, and it's still in its green.
It's great.
Okay, should we head down?
Yep. See, normally we look at doors like this and we get a bit excited, don't we? But there's certain signs that mean that we can't go in there.
That's right. So ordinarily, as we've seen so many times before, archway, for example, you look in a cross passage and you're rewarded with old tiles, wartime hidey holes, interesting equipment, but not today.
You mentioned wartime though, and there's a clue as to other stuff that's in the local area, isn't there?
Well, yeah, so although this station isn't an interchange, it doesn't have another underground line here. There are tunnels not very far away from where we are that belong to the wartime.
Look at that, the BT Tower in the background, and this structure on Tottenham Court Road. It's wartime, isn't it?
It absolutely is. This is one of the 8 deep-level shelters that were built in response to the Blitz. They were commissioned in 1940 during the height of the Blitz. They started building them in 1941 and they completed them by the summer of 1942. If you want to know more about them, you can go and watch the rather excellent episodes on Clapham South Deep Level Shelter, which will tell you more there. But this one, this one didn't really enter public use straight away, so we should probably go and have a look at the other entrance to it.
Because there were always 2 entrances, weren't there?
That's right. So the shelter itself runs straight underneath Tottenham Court Road. You have one entrance on one side of the shelter, another entrance just down there. It used to connect into the station, doesn't anymore. It's all solidly bricked up and then block worked up on top of that, so there's no physical connection to the station anymore. This entrance isn't open either, but we could go and have a look at where the other one was.
Let's go. Here's the other end of it.
Yeah, so we're now magically transported to the other entrance to this. Now this one's kind of curious because I mentioned in 1942 these were all finished, but the need for people to shelter had gone away because the Blitz had stopped. And it wasn't until 1944 and 45 when the V1 and V2 weapons started landing that they were actually open to the public. And in the meantime, this site got handed over to American military intelligence, and General Eisenhower had this. So, yeah, so this was intelligence command for the American military for the rest of the war.
Do you like your eggs over easy?
I'm sure they did. And this was a really, really important site because of that. So it became known as the Eisenhower Tower. It's kind of an inverted tower, I guess.
And it does look quite grand.
Well, it's because it was the only one which got expanded.
Right.
So an express lift was put in here. So as well as the normal small 2 or 3 person lift that you find in those deep shelters, this one had a much, much faster lift in there. Now, the shelters after the war was over, well, what do you do with them? Well, most of them gradually started being used as archives. This one was no different, and that's how it ended its life as well. So this one hasn't been open to the public for a very, very long time. I was fortunate enough that about 10 years ago, I got to go and have a look around in there, and it still had the surviving Lamson tube pump for sending messages around the site. You know, when you're in a supermarket, yeah, and you have those little things that you can put the money in to shoot them off. Well, they had one of those for sending messages around the site really quickly. If you want to see more of that, Hidden London book, it's all in there.
Can I just say one other thing? There is a guest book down in the tube station, and it's guests who come into this bit here. Your name is in it.
It is.
Along with probably only about 100 other names.
Yep.
So you're one of a very exclusive group of people who's been in there.
Yeah.
Lucky you. Still in use. We need to go back downstairs now, don't we?
Yeah, let's go back down and see if we can find those tiles.
Let's not do it with a gimmick. I love the idea that we could have actually done some sort of like, and we're back in the
For once
tube
we
station
restrained ourselves.
We didn't do it again. But weirdly, you know, we're still looking at the tiles in the platforms, and do you notice the bands as well? They'd only go halfway.
Yeah.
It's almost like they run out of money, isn't it?
Yeah, well, there's a green station, you typically take them all the way over. There's no practical reason to do it though, so I don't blame them for saving the money on that one. But once again, we can see that the tiles are quite thick. So the originals are going to be sat underneath there. In fact, no.
Can you see the peppermint? Can you see it?
I just wondered if you see at the end, it looks like they were broken.
A little
out.
overhang.
But, do you know, I'm just going to take a...
You can have a little look.
They are.
Go on, do it again.
They are. Look, they are absolutely there.
Amazing.
So the originals are there. I doubted myself for a second, but I was
Your
right.
eyesight's so good. One of the things that we've got to broach very carefully is how you actually say Goodge Street, because I'm do a bit of both actually. I'm a bit of Goodge, a bit of
Goodge
Goodge.
Street. We stray across this with Holborn and Marylebone. There's all sorts of different ways of saying things, but the place is actually named after a person. It's John Goodge.
Goodge.
Yeah, who owned this little area in the 1700s. And so when buildings were established on the site, that's how the area took that name.
And his wife, Joan Goodge. Is that right? Should we go and have a look at something else?
Let's have a look at the other platform. So we might have been thwarted by one cupboard, Alex, but Andy, the station manager, has...
Hello. Yes, you're famous, very famous. Hi, driver.
Thanks a lot. So Andy, the customer service manager, did tip us off that there might be something interesting in this cupboard.
Do you know the great thing about this particular part of the station? As you say, we've been tipped off about what's in this cupboard. Have a look at the new, well, I say new, 1980s tiles. And then Nixie, shove it in the hole.
Well, we know we were thwarted at Mornington Crescent, weren't we? Because they were very thorough in their refurb there, but let's have a look.
Right here. Watch this. Look at that.
Oh yeah, there we go. All the goodness.
Absolute golden joy. This is what we came here for. 1907 apple green tiles. I love the fact you let that door shut so gently. And isn't it great, Nixie? Because actually only when you look at this lump of platform that was obviously hived off to provide safe places for this electrical gear, not that any of us want to touch any of this, you suddenly realise the colours of emulsion or distemper paint, and as it would have been at the time, and the original tiles. I mean,
well, it's the pattern,
clean,
isn't it? So you can see that these I can't quite make it out. It's steps rather than a chevron.
Yeah.
But absolutely the original tiles, and as always in these spaces, rudely bolted through with modern equipment, but at least they survive. So as ever, it is worth us going into these spaces and having a look, because if it doesn't have to be upgraded and refurbed, it doesn't always get done.
But so much at this station we just didn't see before. We had the garden, the pristine lift room with 4 motors, the tile work, the spiral stairs. This station has got so much to give in terms of the stuff that we love.
It does. And if you've enjoyed going around here with us, then take a look at the Hidden London book and see some more, or book yourself on a tour with Hidden London at one of the many stations that we run, tours so you can get behind the scenes for yourself.
The girls are on honeymoon and half term. It's been an all boys trip today. Thank you so much, Nixie, for coming around the station. As always, you've found us on YouTube. Thank you so much. Like, subscribe and comment down below. Follow us all on Instagram, Alex Grunt and Chris Nick, City Holloway, Hidden London Law, and at LT Museum. And we'll be back somewhere really cool and probably a bit less hot very, very soon indeed. Have yourself a great day and stay safe.